Hi, and welcome to the Feel Good Always podcast. I'm Becky Bradley, and today I'm joined by Heather Harmon, a writer, yoga studio owner, and innovation thought leader who has journeyed through deep suffering to deep connection and is now helping others to do the same. In this conversation, we explore how to move from pain into peace, learning to trust the signs, surrender control, and heal the patterns that keep us stuck. Heather shares her powerful insights on breaking free from narcissistic relationships, the role of truth in releasing shame, and how telling our stories sets us free. If you're listening, I don't believe it's by accident. I know you will hear something today that you are meant to hear, something to remind you that we are divinely guided and that we are always invited to feel good always. So let's begin. Welcome to the Feel Good Always podcast. I'm Becky Bradley. This is Real Stories of Love, Connection, and Remembering Who We Are. And I'm here with Heather Harmon.
Hi, Becky.
Welcome.
Yeah.
I'm glad you're here.
So glad to be here.
It's amazing. So Heather and I met about 6 months ago, and we have had, it feels like lifetimes of things that have happened just in this short time.
Yeah, when you said 6 months, I was like, wait, is that right? Yeah, it is.
Time is accelerating. So the reason that Heather is here today is because she has this great amount of wisdom that I know that I am supposed to share with everybody that is listening today. And Heather was brought to me by Kira. When my daughter Kira died, I had a deep knowing about a lot of things, even in the immense pain that I was in. And within a couple days of her transition, I had this deep knowing that all the people were coming. I just kept hearing it over and over. I'm sending the people, they're coming, they're coming, they're coming, which gave me a little bit of it didn't feel like anybody could fix this. It didn't feel like it didn't matter who you sent, but I kept hearing it. And so lots of people came to help me heal. And you are one of the people that by the time you came in, I was pretty healed. Your entry into my life was more of a knowing of the work we're doing here in the world. Yeah. So she didn't just mean I'm sending the people to help you heal. More keeps being revealed. Yeah. And so we have these parallel, many things that are parallel in our lives. And you came in and Kira really came to you before, and we can get into that. But this podcast is about overcoming and transforming suffering, transforming grief into this never-ending infinite connection that we have to everything and everyone, not only our loved ones on the other side, but like everything. We're being so guided. And when we transform that, we really do feel good always, to live a life fully felt. And you can feel it. I see you right now. You have tears in your eyes. You feel it because there's this immense amount of feeling behind all of it and what has happened to us in the last couple of years through, unfortunately for me, and I know for you, it's come through some great suffering. And, but on the other side, this really powerful stuff is happening. And that is what we are going to share here today. And you have so much to share to help so many people. So I'm going to read your bio and then we're going to get started. So Heather is a warrior poet, seeker, and innovation leader whose journey spans soul-sparking travel, entrepreneurship, and thought leadership in prop tech and the built world. Whether she's leading advisory circles for founders, guiding sacred journeys, or crafting deeply personal conversations on her podcast, Heather invites others into spaces where vulnerability, wisdom, and genuine connection amplify growth. As a 4-time founder and operating partner in venture capital, she has built and scaled companies at the intersection of technology and real estate. Today, she consults and advises hundreds of startups, champions innovation in construction, and regularly shares her insights as a speaker and thought leader on transformation, strategy, and conscious leadership. Heather's work is rooted in authenticity, deep listening, and focused execution. From mentoring founders and co-owning yoga studios to facilitating sacred travel and writing poetry, she weaves wisdom, intuition, and the power of community. She is currently finishing a book of poetry on love, about the journey to conscious equal partnership, set to be released in early 2026. And you can also read her sacred travel poetry at warriorpoet.com. So that's you. And your podcast is coming out in the podcast Scott and Heather. People can go to that too. Scott and Heather's going to be it's live now. So by the time this is
Mhm.
airing, it is live, Scott and Heather.
Ooh.
So this is I just when I say Kira has sent me all of the people, I'm surrounded by really powerful, amazing humans, and everything about like this is just so beautiful. All the work that you're doing in the world and the amazing capacity you have to do so much in your
Mm.
your world spiritually, the stuff that you're doing spiritually and intertwining that through real estate, thought leadership, conscious leadership, all of that. But I really want to get into your story, and maybe in the last year, wherever you want to start with that, you want to tell us a little bit about yourself. There's so much.
Oh yeah. I never know where to start with the story about myself. So thanks for sharing a piece of my bio. Um and I feel like there's a celebration for the people we have in our life, Becky. Like we are surrounded by such incredible people doing incredible things. And it's no coincidence that we got to be brought together right now in this time. So we've just been surrounded by those signs that brought us together and the knowing like you're
Yeah.
right where you're supposed to be. Yeah.
Because even just in that story of how you and I connected,
Yeah.
it was very, so I do believe that everybody is, I don't believe that we really meet anyone in our lives that we're not supposed to. Every single relationship. The thing about me is that since Kira's transition, it's very obvious to me. So almost anybody that I'm connecting with, I know immediately. But with you, the night we meet, if you want to share what happened really quick, just really, Kira very much showed that she was bringing you to me.
Yeah, we did. Kara's come real strong in 3 times now, and that it's always right before we're going to be together. And so the first time that Kira came in, we were at a mute breathwork class evening, and there were quite a few people in the room, maybe 35, 40 people in the room. And we were on opposite sides, and I had not met you. And during the course of the breath work that evening, and this is the first time this has ever happened to me in breath work, my arms got stuck like this in the stuck, meaning like I could not move them or change them. And then I felt somebody holding my hand. And I asked Elizabeth, our breathwork teacher, afterwards, like, were you holding my hand? And she said, no. And I said, okay, so that's how real it was. But I asked out there who's holding my hand. And the answer was Kira.
Yeah.
And then she started showing me things that I brought to you afterwards when I did meet you. I said, this is what she showed me. And she showed me 2 white dogs. She showed me
A boat.
a boat. Yes, a very specific boat at that time. And there was one other thing that night. A show you were supposed to watch, I think, or something
Yes,
like that.
every single thing you wrote it on a piece of paper, which I still have.
Yeah.
And I'll probably, when I share this episode, I will post this to
Oh,
social media
good.
because I have it. It sits on my
Oh, that
altar.
gives me chills. Yeah.
Yeah, because she's here and
Yeah.
she's giving you the chills. Her energy is merging with yours. I always tell people that when they tell me they're getting the chills. That's
Yeah.
what that is.
Yeah.
It's the energy of confirmation. So yes. So what happened to you is we go to holotropic breath, and that is a powerful breath practice that really changes your consciousness and
It changes your chemistry. It changes your awareness. It awakens energetic pathways inside of you that are there but are not
yes.
activated. So
I felt her touch me in breath work too, and I was the same thing. Wait, was that you to the teacher? Which is just, I mean, if you would have told me this stuff a couple years ago, I would have been like, wait, what?
Yeah.
And it happened to Quinn's mom, who was on the podcast a few times ago. Same thing. It happened to both of us. So in the same session that she touched us. So that happens. And I want to, and then everything that you brought to me, I could validate, yes, we had two little white dogs. And yes, the boat that you were talking about, I had just been seeing that same vision, something else she was showing me. So it was like this merging of she was showing you also to just kind of reassure you that what was happening with you was real.
Yeah. Kira's been a really big teacher for me to know this is how I know. So the way that she's showing me the things that she's doing, she's my most powerful teacher right now to teach me this is what you're doing, Heather.
Yeah.
This is real. And especially when I can come to you and get additional validation after the fact,
Mhm.
then I'm understanding this is how it works. You know, the state of consciousness that I'm in, the receiving that's going on, the way those signs come in, then it's giving me the application of this verifiable experience. And then I know this is how I know. And this has been such an amplified acceleration over the last few months, which feels like lifetimes, you know, since
Yeah.
we met in January or
I
February.
also want to share with you that I always have mirrored experiences. And what that means is I will have an experience and then something else will happen. I had somebody reach out to me this morning. Her name is Kelly, which also connects to your Kelly story that you may share later. Her
Okay.
name is Kelly. She was in holotropic breath 2 weeks ago. Kira came to her the same way. It was like the same experience that you had. And she did kind of the same, like, why would Kira be coming to me? I never met her. And I said, funny enough, I'm going to be on the podcast today with somebody who had the same experience. So, of course, you're coming to me today with this message. And I was able to validate for her, yes, this is real. It's this connection that we actually have to everything. And for whatever reason, the people around me are having this connection that is available kind of with everything. And that Kira maybe taught you. I know you've had multiple experiences where you've been able to come to me and share that with me. And I've been able to validate. And trust me, when it first started happening, I was like, wait, how do you know that? And it was happening to so many people that I saved your little letter um that you wrote on that night, and I have it sitting on the altar because just because these are powerful things. These are beyond what I would have ever
Yeah.
thought was happening. So, and then you and I we continue on. There's been so much that has happened since then, but for you, if you want to share, not necessarily just about, you and I and our relationship, but like what has happened for you in the last year or how far you need to back up to start.
Yeah. I think the thing that came to me when preparing for this, because there's so many directions we could go with this conversation. But when I was filling out the questionnaire that you asked me to do to come
Yeah.
to kind of just prep us for today, I I got this memory that came in of something I haven't thought about in a long, long time. And I really felt like Kira was telling me, like, you need to share this. There's a reason. So the story is I was 20 years old and I was driving from Seattle back to Sacramento for a friend's wedding for a fitting and a bridal shower type party thing. And I'm 20 years old. I work in restaurants. I put like $300 in cash in this zipper pouch purse from Mexico. And that's my money for this whole trip. And I get to the close to the Oregon border and I need to get gas. So I get the gas. And then I get halfway through Oregon and I realize I had left my money cash on top of the car and driven away. And it's cash with no
Yeah.
identification or anything else. So in this moment, $300 is like $2,000 to me. You know, it's a lot of money. And I think, oh no, like if I turn around and go back to look for it, the chances of it being there are less than 1%. Somebody's, not going to turn in cash. And if I go back, I'm going to be late. And this is a fitting with the seamstress, all the things. Like it's like I don't have enough time to go back and be on time. The chances of the money being there is slim. So I get the message, like, surrender that and just hope that it went to a person who needed it more than I do. And I prayed for that person in that moment. I was like, I'm just praying that whoever it found needs this money more than I do, and that this changes your life in some meaningful way. I keep driving. And then I see this hitchhiker on the side of the road holding a sign that says weed. If you're not from California, that's a town in California. And I knew it really well because our high school football team used to play football games there. And so I see him and I drive past him, of course, because my grandfather's voice is in the back of my head. Heather Annie, don't you ever pick up any hitchhikers. Don't ever do that. That's not a safe thing to do. So I drive past him, but I keep hearing this voice, go back and get him, go back and get him. And I'm thinking, is this real? Am I really hearing this voice? Like, I don't know how to make things make sense right now with all of like what's going on. So I keep driving, keep hearing the voice, and I'm getting sick now.
Yeah.
Like the
Your
more
body's telling you.
my body's telling me, it's like, you've got to do this. I want to say it wasn't a voice like audible. Like it was a sense in my head, like the words were projecting into my consciousness, but I don't actually hear voices. That's my way of getting signs or getting knowings or getting those directions that tell me what's coming next or what I'm supposed to do. So I'm 20 years old. I'm getting this voice telling me to go and pick up a hitchhiker. And I ask, like, well, if I'm supposed to do this, like, show me a sign, like, make it easy for me to turn around and go back and get him. So it just happens. It's like my car drives itself. We get off the freeway, we get back on, we come back around. There he is. My car pulls over. And the whole time I'm like, I can't believe I'm doing this. I'm picking up a hitchhiker. He comes running over. He's got a backpack. He looks down into the car. He has like a Tag Heuer watch on, which I knew was a really nice watch because my best friend had one. So I was like, why is this hitchhiker wearing a Tag Heuer watch? So he leans in, he goes, like smiling eyes, all the things, gets in the car. We start talking. And as we get approaching Weed, I figure out that he's actually going to the same town I'm going to. So I said, well, do you want to keep going? And he said, yeah, actually, you could take me to my cousin's house. I said, okay, great. Now at this point, we're exchanging stories about why is he actually hitchhiking. And it's because he had just read the book that I had just read, On the Road by Jack Kerouac. And he wanted to have the experience. And his parents were absolutely furious with him. Ends up, the very house he was going to in Sacramento was my sister's best friend's house. And I had taken her there a dozen times. I knew exactly the house he was going to. So when I got that full story unraveled in front of me because I followed this crazy ass voice in my head telling me to do something that my entire life I'd been programmed not to do,
I love it.
I understood how it works. And I was only 20. So the process of that journey now, I turned 50 this year, 30 years of this process of signs. And for me, it's different than for you, how things come through for you. I mean, we can share those frequencies and things, but I think the point of telling that story is it doesn't look one way.
Yes. Thank you for saying that. It's so important. It's a feeling, though.
It's a feeling. Yes.
It is definitely a feeling, and you felt it. I have the same thing where it's not that I hear voices, it's a knowing, and it's like it pushes, and it doesn't feel like my thought. So
yeah, it doesn't feel like your thought.
it's not something that I would do normally, but if I keep feeling like I'm supposed to, then I listen. And then what happened for you is what kind of I was saying before is I do believe we're always being guided and we're always right where we're supposed to be. And sometimes it's really revealed, like it's so obvious because it's your best friend, it's your sister's best friend's house, right? That you have this thing where you did something which is you surrendered the money. And it's like, really, I believe that a lot of this is a lot of where I sit today in this energy of being able to be very connected is in that surrender. I'm so surrendered. I was pretty surrendered before this, and then I was really asked to surrender. But the surrendering first and letting go that I think I know what's going to happen, and the trusting that we'll get, we'll see the right thing. So this happens to you at a young age. It's like a breadcrumb for what is to come, and this continuation of being guided. And it doesn't mean So it doesn't mean and I have like similar stories. It doesn't mean that I didn't suffer from that time or you didn't suffer, but it does mean that we can look back and say I was being guided to be where I
Yeah.
sit today, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Looking back. And if we can look back, then maybe we could sit in this moment and trust that it will be okay.
Yeah. That we're right
Actually,
where we're supposed to be.
even when it's really hard.
Yeah. Especially when it's hard.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
I had done that so many times and it helped me to be able to move forward or survive some hard suffering, but when Kira transitioned it was like no, not this.
Yeah.
And I survived that too, which I think that surrender it really puts me I'm open to a lot more and obviously all of the things that have happened. So you end up so your podcast um is called Scott and Heather and you're talking about narcissism, surviving or overcoming narcissistic relationships really through the work you're going to do on yourself. Do you want to I feel like it's so important to talk about this part because each of us have our own things, right? And I know that there's so much to you. There's so much to you. And when we have to share the parts that got us there. But one of the things, at least for me, that I see is that you have this suffering that you've had kind of your whole life. And you've been able to kind of rise above and see it through a series of really, sometimes I call them like initiations, which is like really hard stuff. And now you are being asked to share how you did this, how you were able to work through this. And so I've watched you do it. I've watched you through the hard stuff, even just in a short period of time. And then now you're doing a podcast already to kind of help people and have people watch you while you're literally in the journey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's that real. You
Yeah.
can literally watch the transformation happen. But yeah, that whole story, it backs up to Egypt, which I was leaving for that trip about this time last year. And the way I ended up at Egypt was hearing the very similar message of you have to go. And nothing about going made any sense. Although the signs just kept coming in, you have to go, you have to go. And what happened there was, a whole nother podcast, but we could just say it was life changing and it was an initiation. And what happened to me there stripped away everything that I thought was my identity. What I felt was how I moved and breathed and was understood in the world. And the journey through all of that was, like you said, suffering. It's been tremendous suffering. I've had lots of physical things to go through. I've had a tremendous emotional and mental pain to go through. And the spiritual side of all of that is the undoing of everything that I thought I was supposed to be doing or that I thought was meant to be dictated into my identity and how I'm seen in the world needed to go away. And I had to surrender.
Like stripped away.
Everything stripped away. Burned down, gone. And there was no choice about it. And in that process, I went to, there's a lot of things I was doing, a lot of things were going on. But this one particular experience I had was a QHHT session. I have not done that before. It stands for Quantum Hypnosis Healing Technique. And it's a very involved, long process. We worked over 2 days together. And in the course of the actual hypnotic state, what happens is the therapist very astutely and delicately and holding a lot of spiritual energy guides your superconscious to come in and talk to you. And so the dialogue opens up all kinds of ways to get answers from yourself, essentially, the self that is really capable of communicating with you the things that you're ready to know. And some of my questions were, it's not time for that. which I think is also something that's part of this journey, is we're not always meant to know. One of the things that I was told, though, is that with respect to what I needed to complete the process of the initiation that started in Egypt, that there were 2 more people coming, and they were coming by June. And I did not remember that information because I went through another massive trauma right after this session that I didn't see coming. But it was like, oh, if I thought everything had come down, oh no, wait, we have one more move. So that happened. And then I sitting at this dinner with an old friend that I met in Egypt and a person she wanted me to meet, whose name is Kelly. And she had said for probably 5 months in front of this dinner, you have to meet my friend Kelly. She was saying it back in Egypt. What happened when I finally met Kelly is monumental. It was one of those experiences that I'll never forget. It was a fork in the road. And I heard, this is one of the 2 people.
Okay. So
Here
you're
she
in your
is.
QHHT session, which is a hypnosis, which I've also done. And you ask a set of questions to your higher self, and they ask them while you're under hypnosis. And most of the questions you asked, your higher self, which is coming through you, said that you're not getting the answer to these right now.
Or I
right?
got partial answers.
Partial answers.
Yeah.
But the one thing, so now you've got, 2 pivotal people are coming by June.
Right.
Right. And now one of them is this person.
Yes.
Kelly?
Kelly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Kelly comes, and she's a channel, and she gets information that is incredibly potent, accurate, and deeply free of ego. What comes through her.
Yes.
It's very potent and
That's
powerful.
how you know it's
how
pure.
you know it's so pure.
Yeah.
So pure. So she gives me the information I need. I really need. And it's powerful. And at one point she tells me, I want you to go into meditation before I give you the next piece of information and ask why this is here for you. And in meditation, I was given a vision. And I don't typically see, that's not my pattern either, but I saw this very vivid image. And a week later, Kelly and I are with another person, and we're sitting at a table, and Kelly taps me across the table. She says, we need to switch sides. And I'm like, okay. And she has a hearing issue, and what, so I thought it was related to being able to hear. So of course, accommodate. Yes, let's move. I go and sit in the next chair. And as I shift my perspective in this room, there is an exact painting of the vision I was given a week earlier. Okay. That happens.
Powerful. I had a similar thing happen to me. Very powerful. And it helps you to see we're being helped. We're being guided. Why would I see this? How is it physically possible that I can see something ahead of time in my mind, and then it appears physically that quickly? So when this kind of stuff started happening to me right around when it started happening to you. And so when you share it, I'm like, yes, I had this, and it was similar. I shared about this, a similar thing where I saw a picture in a book. Mine wasn't in my mind. It was actually in a book that Kira told me to look at. And then within minutes, it was up on the wall. Same type of, where you're like, and I think of like whoever's planning this.
I say they too.
They make it so obvious because the switching of the seats also added just an extra layer. I wouldn't have seen it.
Exactly.
Yeah, I wouldn't have seen it. But here's what I tell people all the time. Even if you wouldn't have switched seats, even if you'd seen, it's still a connection. But at first, we need the extra pieces. Yes. We need the extra, and this happened, and this happened,
Yes.
And the hitchhiker, it was the best friend's house, to see just how orchestrated everything is, which gives you the courage. It's a piece, I know, for you, and it's for me. Even this podcast that I do today, the things that I have been shown gives me the courage to be so vulnerable, to put my life, my heart break, to say things and not worry that I'm going to say the wrong thing or whatever, or what are people going to think? I've seen too much. They, Kira and all the angels and God, and they've shown me too much because they want me to do something big. And that is what started happening to you, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Starting back here. And now you've met this person that you've been, your higher self told you.
My higher self told me. And what happened at that table with those two women, they were instrumental in orchestrating what actually happened next. And so the bit of extra trauma that I, glossed over a minute ago is that my current relationship that I was in, which I had waited 8 years to date, even somebody, was I had just found out that he had an entire family that he was hiding from me. Meanwhile, telling me that we're going to get married and we're going to buy a house together and he wants to build a business with me. And none of it was real.
Yeah.
None of that was real. And the part that was the most devastating in all of it was that this was what I picked after doing a massive amount of work, because every other relationship I've had in my life has also been with a narcissist. So not great choices, Heather. The rest of my life looks really successful on paper, but this part of my life is a hot mess on repeat over and over again. And so when I got the news, I actually found out, it's kind of a fun story. He had ended the relationship with no explanation. And I had pulled into my driveway like maybe 8 weeks later after that happened. And I'm pretty devastated still just about that part. And I get the message like, look up his mom's obituary, because she passed away right around the time
You
that
had a feeling to
I
do
just
it?
had a feeling.
Okay.
Look up his mom's obituary. So I sat in the car and I'm like, I don't even know if I'll be able to find it. But I did. And I found it, and it says the normal things that an obituary would say. And then I get to the part that says, my ex and his wife, so and so. And I'm like, what the heck is going on? And I'm thinking his sister, I mean, instantly my mind is like putting excuses and reasons and explanations to it, because how could he possibly be married? But once I got inside the house, my entire world became, who is this woman? And after, preliminary background checking, he's been married for 30 years.
Yeah, and you had no idea.
This was an entire, yes, he had two children that were relatively my children's ages. And he had let on this whole reality, like he lived alone for 30 years and had been waiting to find me. So the entire, tear down was one piece of it. And but the shame, Becky, like the shame of that I had done this again, and that I had been parading around my industry with this man. So he's very senior and public and all the things. And, we had been out with all of the people that we work with for months, and in hotel rooms and at events. And I'm thinking, what the hell? Like, everybody knows that Heather's running around with this married man except me. I'm the one who doesn't know. So once I started asking people, half people knew he was married and just thought we were really good friends, which I thought was really nice of them. But the other people would say, well, people in this industry live differently when it's called like conference behavior or whatever. Do you know what I mean? So my point was that people knew I did not know. So I was not a willing participant in what he was doing. But what happened next is I'm in a spiral of shame, and I wouldn't even call it despair. I would say, like, there was a part of me that thought, I don't even know what I'm doing here anymore. Like this is so this is sort of like the last thing. Like, I thought everything else had already burned down, and I couldn't believe, like, this is like also what I have to face and deal with and heal, because he's gone. It's me. Like, I'm the one that's left with this to clean up. And I called Kelly and I left her a message, and I said, here's why you haven't heard from me for a few days. This is what I found out. I'm devastated. I'm in the pits of despair here. And um, what I'm understanding right now, as I'm even saying this out loud to you, is that this is my third adult relationship where every single one of my partners has hidden a child from me. The first person I was with, the father of my children, hid a daughter from me, and I found pictures in the closet of her after we had been together for a few years. My second relationship, and the one that I bought a house with, I found out when we were selling the house from the title officer that he had child support liens in 8 counties. And he had told me the entire relationship he never had children, and he was constantly wanting me to choose between him and my children. And that was the reason the relationship ended. So to find out after the fact that he actually had a child was like, are you kidding me? And then this one is hiding an entire family from me. And I thought, how, lots of people have stories and things recur, and we should all pay attention when things recur because it's not them, it's us. But in my particular case, I don't know how anybody else out there has a story where there's 3 significant relationships where I trusted, where I loved, where I signed up for it, and they're all hiding a child. So I said to Kelly out loud, the common denominator here is me. And as Kelly was listening to my voicemail out loud on speakerphone, she didn't realize that her house guest had come in and was sitting in her kitchen. And as she walked into the kitchen and saw him sitting there, his eyes were big. And he said, I have to meet that woman. And Kelly said, you weren't supposed to hear that. And he said, yeah, but I did. And I just told you the same thing an hour ago.
Because this is Scott of Scott and Heather.
This is the better part of my podcast. Yes.
Yeah.
and my life.
So he just told her an hour before the same thing that he overhears you saying, like, it's me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is what leads.
And 3 relationships ended. His third relationship ended a couple of weeks before mine did. And he was visiting from 2,000 miles away. Just happened to be in her kitchen at the moment that she's playing my voicemail.
And then he proceeds to be like, I need to talk to this woman.
Yeah.
You.
Yeah.
Because he hears it. And here's the thing. So we're talking, you have this wild thing that's happened to you. You've done a lot of work. You're somebody that has done a lot of work on yourself. You spent 8 years. You're not somebody that you would think, if you're looking at yourself, you're thinking, how did this happen again? Here I am, and it must be me, which is actually, I love it when it's me because I have control over that. But I understand. And so it's like that shame around, how did I get here again? But I always look at it as we're always right where we're supposed to be, which clearly we so clearly see this now. How did you... Yeah. Because of the work you're doing today, and you and Scott, you have these mirrored things happening where he's having a very similar experience, but he's a man and he's having it with women, and you've had the same experience. And then he's just so happens to be at this house and overhears you right at the perfect time, comes into the kitchen at the perfect time. This is what I'm talking about. Nothing is random, which... This is the second person, right?
This is the second person.
This is the second person. So your higher self 6 months before tells you 2 people are coming. One of those people is Kelly. My body has so many chills right now. One of those people is Kelly, and one of those people is Scott. So Scott comes in, and the 2 of you start, and you can share more on this, but what I have seen is, and I've listened to the beginning of your podcast, and obviously you've shared what kind of organically happened is you start talking and you realize, like, you're recording these conversations, and you realize, like, people need to hear this, because you've got not only you hear, like, healing from narcissism, and really you talk a lot about it's the patterns in yourself, and I want you to talk about that. It's not making this other person. We can never change other people. I think that's pretty clear to most people now, but like how we look at ourselves, and you've got 2 people represented in this podcast, which obviously it's way beyond that for you. It's your life. And Scott has come in as this amazing, person in your life that was always coming, but you had to go through all this pain to get here.
Yeah.
I wish, could you just make it a little easier,
I know.
but what it's,
Yeah.
so there's all of that beauty, and I want you to share about that part. But what you're doing today is you're sharing, and your words are so beautiful in your podcast. You just have this way with words. You're sharing the journey and how you were able to look and continue to look, because we're on this journey. It's not like
Yeah.
it's not like we're actually following along with you and Scott as you're healing this part of yourself, so that you can go in and have this conscious relationship. And this is, to have someone meet you where you're at.
Yeah.
So what does that take? What does that take to do that? I know it's a lot.
Well, oh my goodness. What happened was he went home, and then he started calling me, or I started calling him, and we were both of us in the pit, trying to climb out emotionally, and with our families, and with our roles that we play in our identity. And then what does this mean next for us? And, the conversations that we had with each other, because here's a man, I could say, I really think I'm a really open person who sees things from all sides, but I really had never thought about men being treated the way I was being treated in relationships. Like, that had never occurred to me. And there was something about him telling me his stories, which are as wild, if not wilder than mine are, where I was like, oh my goodness, like, this is not just about me. This is so much bigger than me. And these things that are going on happen to men as much as they happen to women. And there's really nowhere that you hear a man and a woman talk about it the way that we have and are. And when we started the phone calls, one night he just pressed record. He's like, we talk about so much deep things that are changing me that I want to start recording these so I can listen to them again. Okay, great. And then I had a friend going through something, and I said, Scott and I just talked about that last night. Why don't I just send you the recording of our call, and maybe it'll help you too.
Mm.
And that's how it started, is those calls went out, the recordings of them, a few times to different friends who were going through different things. And we maybe had talked about exactly sort of that situation the day before. And those people all came back to me and said, this should be a podcast. Ironically, I'd been told I need to do a podcast 2 years earlier, signed up for a course to learn about podcasting, bought all the equipment, sat there and did not know what to do with it, and was so frustrated with myself. Like, what is going on? So when this happened, he goes, do you have a mic? I'm like, yeah, I do. Do you have a thing? I'm like, I do. I have everything, because I already knew I'm supposed to do a podcast. I just didn't know who I was doing it with. And so that's how the podcast started. So when we push play on the podcast, we're recording in real time our journey of healing and transformation. And at one point, we had filmed 13 episodes, and I think he texted me and said, can we talk tonight? Which was normal. And I said, sure. And so we got on a call, and we got into the, just time sharing with each other about our day. And he said, well, I need to tell you something that's really bothering me. And I'm like, oh no, like, I'm sorry. What had happened? What's going on? And he said, you've said a few times that when you start dating again, the bar for the person that you are going to be looking for is going to be set by me. And I said, yeah. I'm like, I think that's a compliment. I think you're amazing. And I don't want anything less than how you show up in my life and for me in my partner. You've shown me what this should feel like. Yeah. And he said, I'm mad about it. He said, and I keep asking myself why I'm mad. And he said, and I've figured out I'm in love with you, and I want to be your man. I want to be the one. Wow. So that happened. And it was like that moment where everything went like this. And I saw the whole arc of everything, Becky, like the whole journey, all the way back to like the first abusive boyfriend in high school, or let's go all the way back to my dad and the abuse that happened there. That set me up for all the trauma that I had to live through, that I had to heal from, that I had to actually get to that point of despair when I did it for the third time with somebody who hid a child from me. And that's how I meet Scott, because there was no other way.
Yeah.
There was no other way. And if I understand anything about this, and you said it, you know, in a different way just a few minutes ago, is the journey is always right.
Yes.
And when we have the courage to step into it and show up for it just the way that it is in this moment right now. And I don't mean just show up, be grateful. Like, find the gratitude, find the appreciation, even when it is the suckiest of moments, even when you can't feel anything but, I need to get to my next breath. Then I've been there. I've
Yes.
absolutely been there.
Because you didn't want to live.
I didn't.
Yeah.
I was having a very specific suicidal thought that I was not telling anyone about. And Kelly knew that.
Yes, because she knows things.
She knows things.
Thankfully.
Yeah, that they show her with much love.
I also didn't want to live. I've talked about that a lot. I did talk about it. I do think it's important when you don't want to live to talk about it.
Yes.
Thankfully, I told everyone, my family, that I was having these thoughts. I didn't have a plan or anything. But so when you have enough suffering through grief that makes you not want to live.
Yeah.
What happens for me is this extreme appreciation for just everything and this opening, because when you talked about earlier your life and what this has done in the last year, and you know, your trip to Egypt and everything that has happened to you in this last year, it's like stripping away the parts of yourself that you thought you were supposed to be, who you are. We actually are not. We are so much more than our, like, I always you'll hear me say Becky Bradley, because I am me and I'm having this experience, but I'm a lot bigger. And there wasn't anything like my child leaving this earth for me to be like, there's so much stuff that I literally don't care about. Guess what? I essentially died myself. And I say that to people sometimes when they're worried about this or that. I'm like, every responsibility, everything about me was gone. I couldn't even do my own dishes. I couldn't grocery shop. I never went back to work. I had my last day of work at a 25-year career. Didn't know it was my last day. So Becky Bradley and all the things that I did in the world were gone, besides being there with my family. And so I think that identity swiping away really opens us up, moves the ego aside, which I think is, you know, I'm hoping this can happen for people. You know, it doesn't have to get this bad to open you up, but you've had great suffering to the point where you wanted to die, you know, and this is real for people. This is real. I am surrounded by really amazing humans, but a lot of them have gotten to this place and now they're giving back. Everybody's giving back through great suffering. And it doesn't mean that we have to have great suffering to go through this, but many have. And so we can offer this hope that even if Scott didn't show up, that you would be okay. You know, no matter what, we will be okay. But sometimes we don't know why things are happening, and then it is revealed.
Yeah.
And so for you, you had this long line of things that have happened to you, to the point your suffering was so intense that you don't want to be here anymore on earth. And then now you meet the person that actually mirrors who you are. And then not only do you meet that and you get to feel the beautiful energy of all that and see why you both walked through all of this, the two of you together are helping so many other people.
Yeah.
It's so divinely orchestrated.
Yeah.
It's so powerful. And it starts really with a podcast. And then you and I have this mirrored experience that we've met and we're already talking. We have all these things happening. And then I don't know who shared first, one of us, and was like, yeah, I'm doing a podcast too. So we literally are launching podcasts at the
Like,
same time.
I know.
And they both were born out of great, great suffering and never thought we were going to do it. Kind of had, I was also getting like, got to do a podcast. I always say if it's not my idea, I'm doing this for other people and I'm doing it for me. So Kira says, and I've said it before, she said, it's a resonance. So what we're doing in here, it's an energy, it's a resonance. Give people a place to find you, give you a place to find you. So every conversation I have, I love it because I'm learning so much from you, from the people. I'm learning about myself. And we continue to learn about ourselves that we're not always what we think we are. And that like voice in the head that questions what grandpa told you about picking up a hitchhiker. I'm not telling people to pick up a hitchhiker. If you want to do it, I'm always saying, trust yourself, trust yourself. You can check in with other people. We will get guided through it. I mean, I get my guidance comes through other people. It comes through everything and it comes from me that I can very much trust myself that I am being guided and being shown and then, trying to help other people and really just offer this hope that this is available. And another thing about your podcast and all the work, you're doing a sacred journey to Egypt, unlockingegypt.com. Is that what it is?
Yeah.
You just do so much. You're right. Your book is coming out and poetry, which you have the most beautiful words, even just speaking to you, you always have the most beautiful words. And so you're doing a lot of things. You and I just went to a podcast convention together. So I spent a good amount of time with you, which, I'd like to share a little bit about that. So
Yeah.
every time I go anywhere, I don't know why I'm going, but I know I'm supposed to go. And a lot of times I know that it has nothing to do with what I think it is. So when we go to this podcast convention, we had a lot of synchronicities that lined up, perfect timing. We decide to go. We just know we're supposed to go. And I had a good feeling that it wasn't really about the podcast. I mean, I did learn some things there, but I live too much in this world of divine orchestration that I'm like, it's something else. Yeah. So the first night we go to dinner and the waiter, his name is Landon. And there is a child on the other side named Landon that I was getting a lot of signs from. So as soon as I saw his name tag, it was an indicator to me to pay attention. I'm always paying attention, but I knew. Yeah. And Landon, I don't know. I think I asked him about his tattoo, which opened up this beautiful conversation between you and I that night for 45 minutes talking about the guidance. You suggested some books to him, and he was like enthralled with us in the sense that we could just tell him, Landon, you feel us. It was kind of like an out of body experience.
We were in a portal over there in this like really funky Vegas feeling type place. And then we just had this little capsule around that conversation with him where he needed validation. He's right there and he's searching and he doesn't seem to have anybody in his life that is a catalyst for his growth or giving him seeds or, helping him in a mentor way. And I feel like that time with us was so potent in what might happen next. I'd love if we heard from him in a year or two.
We will. Yeah. I know we're going to hear from him. So what I was able to tell Landon, this is a 30-year-old that's the same age as my son. He's going through powerful transformation. He has a lot of questions. And then lo and behold, these two women show up. And he felt our energy. He felt a magnetic pull to us. He kept coming back to the table and asking questions. And I was just able to tell him, your higher self, this is divinely orchestrated. You are always going to meet us for us. And it's that simple that I might, sound crazy to some other people. But if you are talking to me, I know that your higher self is connecting with mine and that I can just let it come through. And that is what we did for Landon. And then 2 nights later, 2 nights later, it was even more obvious. I always know. I
Yeah.
always know. I don't need it. I love the confirmation, but I already knew it was obvious. 2 nights later, we try to go to dinner somewhere else, and nothing was working out.
No, nothing was working out. Closing in front of us. We're closing in 5 minutes.
Yeah. So we go, and I'm like, okay, we're supposed to go see Landon again. So we go back to the same restaurant, which was in our hotel, and I think he probably talked to us for an hour and a half.
Yeah.
It was really, really powerful. And he let us know, and this is where the ego steps aside, because this is powerful stuff coming through. He let us know just how impactful us being there, that it changed him. That the night that he met us, he went home and he just was like giddy with his girlfriend. And I said, yes, because you are in the energy of what you got brought into, this really the feel good always energy. And so I love that. We never know why we're doing something. And I 100% know that the main reason that you and I went to that podcast movement together was to meet Landon,
Yeah.
to plant those seeds in Landon. I hope he listens to this.
I do too. That's why I was saying I hope, because I know there was no coincidence about that. It was so potent and so powerful, especially the second time we got to spend that extra time with him, and how he kept coming back and saying how much it meant to him. And he's in this moment where like you can see the light behind his eyes, and he's this close to deciding something.
Yes.
And he's got a purpose. It's big.
He knows it.
He knows it. So I can't wait to see what it is, and how it expresses in the world, what a difference he's going to make.
Big.
Yeah, it's big.
And I say that like for anybody that's listening, it's like pushing aside the ego that might sound crazy talking to the waiter about like really spiritual and powerful things, but it's just what I do. And every time, once we started having this conversation, it's like people feel the energy of it and they know it. And I'm not afraid to say anything. And it's all beautiful anyways. I mean, like, who doesn't want to hear this kind of stuff? At least that's what I think. So that's one of the things is like you and I here today. I don't know what part of this conversation is going to be important. Every piece could be important to somebody else, but I do know that I was asked, that you came in, that you would be the person that came next, and that somebody needed to hear what we said today. So we can trust that we're always saying and doing with an intent, the right thing. And I always do set an intention, let my ego step aside so that I can help whoever I need to help, including myself, including myself. So as we're going to wrap this up, I'd like to just, you've shared some things already about, things that people can do. If you just gave like one piece of advice for, to help someone, you really just maybe moving in more towards like an awareness of themselves, or recognizing patterns, if they're in the same type of situation, or just in general for overcoming suffering.
Well, in the relationship piece, I would say if you're experiencing a recurring pattern in your relationships, there's lots of content out there that helps you diagnose the other side. And what I would encourage you to do is don't worry about that. Look at yourself and go deep. Go past this person, this relationship, and go back into where the catalyst is in you that created why this is happening in your reality over and over again, if it is, like it was for me. And second, if you're aware and you're getting out and you're getting on the other side of something, the most important thing you can do is tell the truth. Tell the truth. Don't hide it. Don't bundle it up in a wad of shame and carry that around. It has to have the light on it. And you only get the light on it when you tell the truth. And I cannot say enough about what the magnitude of healing was for me and for Scott when we started telling the truth about what happened to everybody. And even though we didn't want to, but that truth telling freed me from the shame that was locked back in me, not telling the truth from when I was a child, and when it happened again, and when it happened again, because I kept everyone's secrets. And so I can say that there's no way I'm ever repeating that cycle again, because I've finally gone through the cycle of telling the truth.
And you said something so beautiful on your podcast. You said, truth amplifies healing.
Truth amplifies healing.
And I
Yeah.
was like, write that down.
Yeah.
Truth amplifies healing. And all we have is truth. And when we try to hide the truth, it just doesn't go well. It comes out in the body in all kinds of other ways. So let the truth set you free.
Yeah. And the thing is, what Kira tells us is feel good always, right?
Mm-hmm.
Shame has no place in feel good always. It is the drag. It is the disfrequency. It is the thing that cuts that short. In order to get in our ecstatic states, we have to release shame. And you don't fool the energetic states about this. You have to actually release the shame.
And you've done this.
Yeah.
And that's amazing.
And you will watch it happen on my podcast.
I've watched the first 3 because you sent them to me, and
Thank you.
yeah. And I don't have this pattern. I don't have this pattern in my life. But that doesn't mean that I didn't learn something, but I do from your podcast, because you're also just carrying an energy and a frequency that is very beautiful.
And so is he.
Yeah. And I could feel it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I also had the name Scott coming in from all directions before you even told me. That's a whole nother thing, but that's what will happen too. So
yeah,
I can't wait to meet Scott.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can't wait to meet Scott and to listen more. So if people want to listen to that, they can. And the last thing I want to ask you to share is what feel good always means to you. I know it's probably a lot or what you can say about it.
So feel good always is the calibration of my frequency to the state of being one with everything that is. And that's the shadow and the light, in an attitude of appreciation and gratitude. And from that place, it is an expansive awareness of how connected I am to everything in this moment and all moments that are spiraling in and around and within themselves, that this is all so much bigger than me, and yet I am the bigger that is part of all of it.
Wow.
Thank you, Kira.
Yeah, that was channeled. Oh, that felt really just came right through you. That was beautiful. I love you so much.
I love you so much.
I'm so grateful to be experiencing this life here with you and spreading this feel good always energy. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. And thank you for listening. Tune in next time. Thank you so much, Heather. And thank you to everyone for listening. I hope this conversation reminded you that even through pain and suffering, there's always purpose, and that every ending holds the seed of something beautiful beginning. To connect with Heather, you can listen to her new podcast, Scott and Heather, or explore her writing at warriorpoet.com. I will leave everything down in the show notes. And on the next episode, I'm going to be talking about some of the physical symptoms that we might be feeling as we move into these higher levels of consciousness. I know that sometimes the physical stuff, it could anywhere from your back hurting to muscle twitches to getting sick, nausea, dizziness, all kinds of stuff, and really just trying to help keep us calm as we move our bodies, our minds, and our spirits through this beautiful transition to more feel good always, higher levels of consciousness. So it can feel intense, but I'm here to provide that calm for you. So I hope you tune into that. And if you heard something today here that you think somebody else that you know, that it might help them, yes, share it with them. Until next time, remember that we are always guided, and we're here to feel good always. So thanks for listening again, and tune in next time.